Whitney from EcoVeganGal.com, and welcome back to another Eco Vegan Gal Uncensored, and this is part of the series about getting into shape, except this video is not going to be about working out. This is actually going to be about an article that I found today that I would really like to share with you. So, as part of this series, I've been talking a lot about my personal journey to what I consider getting into better shape. So, feeling more fit, feeling stronger, feeling like my body is more defined. And as I've talked about in the other videos, which I invite you to check out, I've had a long journey with accepting my body and feeling happy with my body and comfortable in my own skin. One thing that I've always wanted to do is to just get in better shape. And there's so much that comes along with that. I don't even know what better even is. I guess it's improving upon yourself, but that would basically say that you're not good enough yet. So I don't feel like that's really the most positive way to look at it, but it's hard to explain it without using typical terms that we have in our society. It's also a dangerous line because so many women struggle with the way that their body looks. I myself have struggled with some form of an eating disorder, as I've talked about in past videos. I've had a lot of different feelings about my weight, and it's just kind of been an ongoing battle ever since I was old enough to realize that my body actually mattered. It's funny, actually, that's a whole other topic. I'd like to really meditate on what it was like before I started feeling self-conscious about myself, because it's amazing when you make that switch and you become an adolescent and suddenly, your body is equivalent to whether you're worthy or not in so many different ways, and how people treat you, and, your romantic experiences, and even your friends' experiences, and even sometimes your career experiences. So much is defined by how we look. And I have always been a woman that has, I guess, for lack of knowing how to describe it exactly, but just a curvy figure. I don't know if I would call myself voluptuous. I know that I have a average or maybe even less than average figure, depending on how you want to look at it and who you're comparing me to. But I definitely have never had a figure that was very thin, I should say. But again, I guess thinness is really relative, isn't it? But I just have never considered myself thin. I've considered myself in good shape at times. I've considered myself a healthy weight. But I've never had that slim figure that I suppose most women, especially in America, really want and really go for. And in this day and age, at least. And sure, there are many cultures that look at bodies completely differently, right? But as a woman, you grow up in this environment where models and actresses, people in magazines, people in advertisements, pretty much everywhere you look that are idolized have these fantastic thin figures and often big breasts and maybe curvy hips, and yet they don't seem to have a lot of extra fat there. So it's just kind of this. In my experience, at least from my personal experiences and with friends, you're always striving for that slim figure. But for me, I've always had just extra weight around my hips and my stomach and my thighs. And because of all of these different bombardments in the public world, I just began to think that wasn't desirable. And there were multiple people in my life as I grew up that kind of sealed that in my mind. There were people in my family, there were people close to me in my family. When I thought that I wanted to be an actress as a young girl, I was blatantly told that I was going to have the right measurements, and in order to have the right measurements, I would have to go on diet and I would have to exercise, and this was all said to a 10-year-old who barely understood what that meant. And I think from that point on, it was a big struggle for me, and I'm sure many of you can relate. So what's interesting, I know I've said a lot of this before, but what's interesting here is this article I came across today entitled "Classic Beauties Get a Shocking Photoshop Treatment." I'll put the link in the description field below so you can check it out. And what it is somebody went and actually photoshopped all of these classic, famous artwork that we have probably recognized, like The Birth of Venus, for example, and things that we have seen a lot in museums, and a lot of people would reference as to the past ideal of beauty, the classic ideal, thus the title. And I remember in many parts of my life people saying that I had that type of a body. So I looked like, you know, the birth of Venus, and who, I'm totally blanking right now, but, you know, all these, Botticelli, right? And yeah, a lot of pictures of Venus in here for some reason. But I guess, you know, she was that curvy woman, and that's just what my body looks like naked. If you ever wondered what my body looks like naked, that's what I look like. I'm very full-figured, right? I don't have a gap between my thighs, and I don't go straight down. I have curves, but my curves are also just kind of bigger. And as I was looking at this image today, I was just really, there was this moment here where I thought, wow, that's what I look like. That's exactly what I look like. Can you imagine, or can I personally imagine, if I had had those images, and if those images had been presented to me as a young girl as beautiful, as the way people wanted me to look? Because this is how they used to be, apparently, right? This is what a beautiful woman looked like. Now, what's interesting in this article is the Photoshop version is basically what I grew up thinking was beautiful, and if you put them side by side, which they do in this article, you see this big difference here. So the first one, you know, the woman is kind of like straight down and all voluptuous in every way, but the Photoshop version is kind of like putting more of an hourglass form and much slimmer there for her. And maybe they would take off a little bit of the fat and tighten it up a little bit, and you'll see it when you check it out. But it's so fascinating, just this simple difference. And I remember so many times in my life, including today, admittedly, where I will look in the mirror and just wish that I could do that. I wish I could just Photoshop off an inch or two off the side of my whole body in order to look like the ideal here, right? And this isn't to say that it's ever consciously prevented me from things. I mean, number one, the reason most women want a nice body is to attract a partner, right? Whether it's male or female. And for me, I've never felt like men were not interested in me because of my body shape. And I've had plenty of men express the fact that they love my body, right? I've also had men kind of make some comments that went in a bit of the other direction, which of course is very painful. But, you know, there's parts of me that are very conscious that I should value my body. And I know obviously the biggest thing for me is health. So feeling healthy and looking healthy are very important. I don't want to look anorexic. I don't want to look pale. I don't want to look like I never eat. I don't want to look like I work out too much, but I also don't want to look like I'm overeating. And I just really ultimately want to feel healthy. But as I've discussed in these past videos, it's also a big curiosity of mine of what can my body look like at its ideal. And I understand that maybe there's no ideal, and maybe you could already call me perfect and thin and all of this, whatever. But I guess it's satisfying that 10-year-old curiosity of, wow, what would happen if I cut back on the fats and the sugars and all the processed foods and all the things that I quote-unquote shouldn't be eating and don't contribute to a healthier body? What would I look like if I worked out every day or almost every day or multiple times a week and just really push my body to see how good it can look? And that's exactly what my journey is here that I've been sharing with you, which has been going on for 3 weeks now. And it's been an empowering thing, but it's also important, and I want to reiterate this for you as well, is I think it's very important to pause and to consider why you're doing what you're doing, and to just reflect on yourself and the reality of things. And to look at these images brings up a couple different things. One, it's sad, I guess, in a way, that we used to have that ideal of the feminine body that is probably a lot more realistic for women like myself, and most women I know tend to have bodies like that classic beauty. So why is it that we moved into this ideal that most women don't even have? That to me is a really perplexing thing and so sad. It's very, very sad to think about the fact that you know, when you're that young, you don't have quite the emotional intelligence to understand that you're being advertised to, and understand that not every woman looks like that, and you don't have to look it like that. On the other hand, I think these images are great reminders that, you know, beauty is all in the eyes of the beholder, and beauty is so determined by advertising and culture and from person to person. And women come in all shapes and sizes. The one thing I will say about that, though, is yes, over the past few years especially, it feels like there's been an influx of more acceptance, and there's been an influx in the media of showing off women in different shapes, and I think that's very important. Is it happening quite as much as it should to make an impact? I'm not sure, and I don't know what it would take to get to that point. What would happen if I had been told that my body was beautiful and perfect the way it was my entire life is what I often wonder. And that's a huge part of my journey, is meditating on that and just constantly reminding myself to be accepting and loving and just so grateful, because I'm not defined by the shape of my body. I'm not just defined by my weight or how in shape I am. I'm defined by so much more. But does that mean that I shouldn't strive to see what my body could look like under really healthy, extra healthy, uber healthy in shape circumstances? I don't think that that's unhealthy if I'm constantly checking in with myself emotionally. Because what I want to know is, could I ever get to that point of that modern ideal woman? I actually don't know if I could. And I don't know what it would take to get there. Would it take liposuction? Would it take surgery? Would it take an extreme diet? I don't know. What I'm trying to do now is to see what my body can be at a healthy point. So working out and eating well simultaneously while infusing myself with those positive intentions and love, and seeing how I can transform. And most importantly, I want to know if it makes a difference. I want to know if I get to a point, if I'm ever going to feel satisfied. Maybe I won't, and that could be a huge message for me. Considering that many of you have reached out and said that you think I look great already, and the fact that there's still part of me that doesn't feel satisfied with that, I wonder if I'm just part of the sad world of women that just don't feel good enough. And that pushes me even farther to want to explore this within myself and to reflect on it every single day, and encourage all of you to do it as well. Because most importantly, it's about health, mental health, emotional health, physical health, internal, health, all of that, every aspect of it. And it's a journey, it's a process, and the best thing that we can do is not only work on ourselves, but also radiate it outwards and spread the word, spread the message. That's why I make these videos. That's why I love hearing from you, and that's why I am so excited to see articles like this come out. I would love to hear what you think about all of the things that I've chatted about today, and what you think when you have a chance to click on the article. Again, the link is down below. Thank you so much for your love and support and sharing and being part of this community. You guys mean so much to me. I feel like you're part of my family. So keep at it. I believe in you and whatever part of your journey that you're on, and I'm always here to support you, and we should all be here to support each other. So if you see a comment, if you want to reach out to somebody personally, please do. Be part of the community, be part of the love, and that's how I believe we make the world a better place. Alright, well, I have a couple videos coming up from my most recent fitness experiences. Can't wait to share them with you, and those will be appearing in the next few days. Alright guys, see you later.